The condition of marriage and family, like we said, in any given society describes the condition of that entire society. As the family goes, so goes the society. If it's troubled, so is the society. It's to society's advantage then to build and encourage the God-ordained institution of marriage and family. At Harvard University, a sociology department chair, his name is Petiram Sorokin, he warned that if individualistic selfishness and self-seeking are not checked, then that society will lapse into a state of sexual anarchy. In The American Sex Revolution, a book he wrote, he says that both man and society are degraded as culture becomes sexually obsessed. The members of such a society become habituated to look at the opposite sex as just an instrument for pleasure. And isn't that the way society has been promoting it these days? We're objects now. To these individuals, when you try to talk to them about human dignity and religion and moral commandments, rules of decency, they just said, I don't care about that. Society degrades the values of womanhood and manhood, of motherhood and fatherhood, venerable age, and of marriage and family, and even love itself. Another fellow by the name of J.D. Edwin wrote this book called Sex and Culture. He studied 86 civilizations, ranging from tiny South Sea Island principalities all the way to mighty Rome. He found that a society's destiny is linked, their destiny is linked inseparably to the limits that it imposes on sexual expression. Cultures that adopt what he considered to be absolute monogamy prove to be the most vigorous, economically productive, artistically creative, scientifically innovative, and geographically expansive societies on Earth. Absolute monogamy is very strict, though. Under absolute monogamy, sex can only occur between one man and one woman. Premarital, extramarital sex is highly discouraged, not tolerated, and divorce is virtually prohibited. And that's the way it used to be. But what we're experiencing today is a result of over 100 years of the church forgetting our history, forgetting even the principles and precepts of the Bible that basically say, look, if you want to be a Christian, if you want to follow me, Jesus said, it's a narrow road. You have to make your choice. Which way are you going to go? I promise blessings or curses. You choose. In Thessalonians, it's God's will that you should be sanctified, made holy, separate, that you should avoid sexual immorality, that each of you should learn to control your own body in a way that is holy and honorable, not in passionate lust like the pagans who don't know God, that in this manner no one should wrong or take advantage of a brother or sister, because that's what we do when we get involved in all these relationships. We're stealing a little bit of each person's soul. We're taking advantage of them. The Lord will punish all those, he concludes in this, all those who commit such sins as we told you and warned you before. God gives a warning at the very end. There's a natural punishment that comes when we disobey God's physical laws and moral laws. You see, when we get involved in sexual immorality, we're not only violating two of God's moral laws, right? He says, don't commit adultery. And in that it's implied any sexual immorality. So we go against that commandment. And then also the other commandment, don't covet. Don't covet your neighbor's wife. Don't covet that sex, that object. So we're going against two of God's moral laws. We're also going against God's physical laws. Because when we start, especially having relations with multiple people, God's physical laws come into place and diseases come as a result. God had to have those laws in place in order for there to be life. He didn't do it to be a bad guy. He did it to give us boundaries, to make it safe for us so we could know where we can play and know where we shouldn't cross. What the world needs now, yes, is marriage. What the world needs is living examples of godly families where one man and one woman are committed to each other for life, dedicating themselves first and foremost to raising children who know God, love God, and live uncompromisingly for Him. And as a family, by doing that, it will bring light to the community around. And we're being solved. And we have an opportunity to change the fabric of this nation again. We can turn things around. It's only been 40 years. But if we put our minds and our hearts and our souls to learning God's ways and to especially promoting them in our families, we can turn this around.